Hey, what's up, everybody? Just a little question for you really quickly. Do you have any sort of milestones that you celebrate in your replays? I'm talking about, are there like any sort of certain times in the replay that you look for, any things that you look forward to, any times where you think, okay, now's the time that I really have to pay attention to these statistics, or now's the time that we can really get serious about the replay, or we know that things are in motion and stuff like that. I was thinking about that here a little bit earlier today, and I thought that, considering how long it takes to replay baseball seasons, especially if you do it what I call like the right way, you're going to play every game yourself, there probably are a couple of different milestones we can look at. So I'll give you a little look here really quick and let you kind of know what I'm thinking about. For me here with Diamond Mine, this replay, the first milestone, honestly, was getting to May 1st. Getting to May 1st was kind of a big deal because that showed me that, this was possible. There weren't a whole ton of games necessarily played before then, right, because the season didn't really begin until April 18th. But getting as far as May 1st means that, okay, we've made it through the first month of the season, and we can sort of stretch through this and see exactly how many more games we're looking at. And, we've proven to ourselves that we can make it at least through a couple weeks of a season. We know about how long it takes to play and what the pace is going to be. I would say that's a pretty big milestone. I don't know so much about completing every single month, but I do know that the next milestone almost obviously is trying to get here to this point, which is the All-Star break. If you're using the real life schedule, of course, that is, maybe you're not. It's kind of a shame that Diamond Mine doesn't have a way to stick the All-Star game in here automatically. I know that other games do, including some of its biggest competitors. That's another one sort of for my wish list. But I would definitely say that the All-Star break is kind of the other period of time you want to look for when you're trying to figure out a good milestone. Where's a good stopping point? Where can we look and say, okay, what have we done so far? What can we learn from this? Am I doing it the right way? Do I need to make any sort of adjustments to how I'm playing? What sort of storylines have come up? Are they different than the ones in real life? And so on and so forth. I would highly recommend looking at that, by the way, because as you know, if you've tried it yourself, if you just do an autoplay through the whole season and let the computer do all of that work itself and figure that out, it doesn't matter, who cares or whatever, you're going to wind up with a project that's really not all that memorable. What we really need to be doing is we need to pay attention to it and enjoy the project and come up with something that we can remember. This is where the milestones can become pretty important. The other one I would say that you got to get through and is the major one is going to be right here around September 1st. And the reason why I bring that one up is because they don't call them the dog days for nothing. You're talking about getting through August, especially July and August. The thing is, for this replay, we're still at the point where there's a lot of novelty to it, right? We've played a little bit over 10% of the games. I'm looking at this, probably 20-something odd games. The teams that are really bad are obviously bad. We know that the Senators are going to be bad. The White Sox, for whatever reason, are going to be, bad. Worse, I guess, than the Browns so far. But yeah, these three teams we know are going to be bad in the American League. In the National League, the Cubs stink, and the Phillies, I don't know what's kind of happened to them. This is a fun Phillies team to play with because of what they did in 1950 in real life. But, as much fun as it might be from this perspective, and as much as we can say, oh, yeah, we're going to play around with this and see what can happen and so on and so forth. The truth is that once you get to about the end of that All-Star break and start going through the later part of July and through August, it's going to be really difficult because you're going to have a whole ton of games between teams that don't really matter, right? So here on my blog, when I do videos for these games, I try my hardest to show you games involving teams that are realistically in the hunt, in the pennant race. I've defined that kind of arbitrarily by saying, okay, if they're about 3 games within first place, then I'll show the game, right? This way I can get through the season at a relatively realistic pace, but this way also, if we have, I don't know, Detroit playing against Boston right now or something like that, it actually does have potential pennant implications. We want to see them play that, even though it's the number 3 team versus the number 4 team in the league. All right, that's sort of the reason why we do this now. By the time we get to August, we're probably not going to see this much crunching up. In fact, if you've ever studied pennant races, you know that in even the biggest pennant races of all time, you very rarely will see 2 or 3 teams just sort of hunched up at the top the entire season. That's a really, really rare event. Usually one team goes out in front and then starts to sputter away and some other team ends up overtaking them. The reason why I bring all that up is because in August, you might be telling yourself that there's no pennant race at all, and you might start asking yourself, I've played 115 games or something. why am I even doing this? Why even continue with the project? If you can get it through August and get into September, that I think would be another very, very major milestone. And then, of course, with September, I mean, it's obvious if you're close to the end of the race, you're going to be able to finish it, right? So we're not going to be looking at like September 30th and say, who knows, maybe the White Sox and Browns are both like way out of first place. I'm not going to look at this and be like, oh, I can never play this game. No, we're so close to the end. Let's see it through. Let's see what happens here at the very end. It'll be interesting. It'll be fun. And then with October, yeah, you have a couple of games left here. And I mean, I know for modern seasons, you have a couple more days and stuff like that. But you have the postseason to look forward to, or at least the World Series if you're playing with an old season. So another sort of milestone I would say to get to, of course, naturally, the end of the season, the World Series is one. But again, to sort of recap, I always look for the end of the first calendar month, getting into May. And probably the end of May as well into June is another big one to show that, yeah, I'm in this seriously. All-Star break for seasons that have it. If you have a season that doesn't have the All-Star break, and we should spend more time playing older years. July 4th is the other game. There's a reason why traditionally, they would say whoever's in first place on July 4th is probably in the driver's seat. That was actually the case back in the old days. July 4th is another big one. And then if you can get through the dog days up to September 1st, then you're just about home. And then, of course, the end of the season. So there you go. That's my answer to that question. What are the best milestones? Again, let me know down below what you think. I would love to know what you've experienced, what you've seen in your own projects, and especially how you keep yourself motivated even when it gets a little bit tricky and a little bit hard. As much as I like to look at old projects and say, oh, it's easy today because the computer does the stats for me. I don't have to worry about being burnt out and stuff. I can tell you that, yeah, by the time you get to August and this replay playing every single game, you might feel a little bit of that burnout. But who knows what will happen? I always think that, hey, the fun of doing this through YouTube and making videos and talking with people about it and blogging about it might be enough to push me over the hump. Well, I don't know. Let me know what you think. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.